Okay, we're live, and it's 4:30, so we're right on time. Hey, everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery, and today we're going to be talking about why syndication networks are more important now than ever in 2019, and in entity validation and just some pretty cool stuff. So this is kind of a dual purpose webinar. It's both the Syndication Academy update webinar as well as the first webinar in the MGYB training series. We're going to be doing one webinar per month where we're highlighting another product inside of MGYB. And talking about how to get the best use out of it, what the next steps are, all of that kind of stuff. Adam jumped in just briefly to say hi. How are you doing, Adam?
Hi. Just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, I was here excited actually for this to kick off. And then this helps answer some questions for people. So I hope people who are watching leave some comments. Let us know too, what your questions are. I know Bradley and Marco got some good stuff to share, but also I think if we have time, we're going to be able to answer questions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to try to limit the training to roughly 30 minutes. It might go a little over. And then we're going to have about, whatever time's left with for the hour, we're going to answer questions. We've already got a couple questions on the page. So guys, use the chat box to post your questions. And then Marco, he's got his camera on, which means he means business.
I'm aggressive, man. I told you guys. I was listening to Pantera Domination. And so I'm ready. I'm ready to just, I'm feeling aggressive today. So I always do this. By the way, I always listen to metal to get ready for anything. It just puts me in that frame of mind to just go at it.
So like I said, guys, we're going to talk about Marco's going to kind of take the lead on this and talk about entity validation. And then that's going to kind of lead us into syndication networks as being still a primary tool for validating entities, which is incredibly powerful. And I'll tell a little story about a new project that I just started over the last few weeks and how I saw in very real time how effective syndication networks are for exactly what Marco's going to be talking about today. And I'll explain that once he's done. So Marco, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, man. I know you got some slides.
All right, man. Let me just make sure that it's ready. And then I'm going to share my screen, make sure I share the right one, and let me know when it's up.
It's up. That is awesome.
All right, cool. So why do I say that this shit works, period? Our Syndication Academy and entities overall, right? When we started coming into the semantic web of things, the one thing that we all started hearing about was entities. But people got really mixed up on what an entity really is. And all it is Google bot sees it as a node on the web, meaning to us humans, it's just a thing that has a presence on the web, whatever that thing is. Now, Googlebot has to, in some kind of way, figure out what that thing is. Now, if you don't do a good job of telling Google what your thing is, whatever it could be, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's your project. Let's call it your web project. If you don't do a good enough job, you can either screw up your entire semantic relationship, and Bradley has often said this. We've been in the semantic web of things for a few years now. It's nothing new. It's the semantic web. It's all about word relationships and how these words relate to the things that live in this, I don't know, ether space, whatever the fuck it is, right? It's digital. It's all zeros and ones, guys. That's all it is, the computer programming. So all of that has to be decoded into what it is that you're trying to tell the bot. And when you think of it this way, you're speaking to an algorithm. You're trying to speak human language, hopefully, to a machine that doesn't really understand human language. It has to translate. I don't give a fuck what they say about machine recognizing speech and speech recognition and all this other shit. It still has to turn all that into math, zeros and ones. That's what programming is. Programming is a language that helps the computer decipher whether it's a 0 or a 1 and the sequence that it's in. Anyway, since we're in this, I call this, and I did this one. It was a much longer one for my charity, and I called it the end game. And why did I call it the end game? Because when you do this right, when you put everything together and you focus it right, and you tell the bot exactly what your project, what this thing on the web is that you're trying to do, and you've related the words to the entity, that's when the end game comes in. It's a chess game, guys. That's how I see it. Because again, a chess game is also math, and it's war. And to me, I've said this before, that one of my favorite books is the Art of War by Sun Tzu, right? And so I read that often, right? Just to get little bits and pieces. Maybe I'm thinking of something, I'll go in and see what the philosopher had to say about this particular thing. It's just one of my favorite things to do. And again, it puts me in that right frame of mind. And I think of this entity as a chess game where I'm trying to kill my competition. That's what this is about. So how do I get them to the point where I have them in checkmate and there's nothing that they can do about it? Think about it. In chess, your end game, the final position that you want to attain in chess, is where your opponent's king can't go anywhere and they have to tip the king over. It's done. Competition is finished. This one of the ways and the main way that you do it in the semantic web of things is the entity webinar. So where do we start? Well, at the beginning, of course, we create the entity. Whatever it is that we do to create it, then we have to verify it, we validate it, we solidify it, and then we get to the end game. It's really that simple. And these are all, this is all what I'm going to show you in this presentation, which is number one, you create your entity. How do you create your entity? You can start out with a free blog. I mean, back in the day, it's one of the things that I started playing with, right? We started playing at WordPress, Blogger, whatever it is. I've been at this for over 15 years now, so you probably started. Sorry about that. I thought I had Skype shut down. I guess I didn't. Sorry. Anyway, we create the entity. And how do you create the entity? Again, it's either a free blog that we start. It's a self-hosted blog. It's maybe we now go into G sites as one of the ways where we create our entities. And maybe we go and we work in GMB. Well, if you're going to go work in GMB, not only are you creating your entity, but you have to verify your entity. This is specifically speaking about GMBs. Before you can work in there, and before it'll do anything for you, you have to verify it. Meaning that you have to call Google, or you have to send for a postcard, or Google calls you, or right, you do the video, whatever it is that you're going to do to verify the entity. Another thing that you can do is pay Google for services in order to verify your entity. And how does that verify your entity? Well, it starts the verification process in that you're getting a credit card on file, or a debit card. In some cases, they'll accept it for some of the services, but not for others. Maybe you go into G Suite, maybe you go and run some Google ads, some YouTube ads. However it is that you pay Google, they now have your credit card on file, so that they know that behind this web project, this online project, this entity, there's a real person behind it. And that's during the verification process. One of the things that Google is looking to do is to ensure that there's a real person behind the entity. Now, we've seen it from, of course, gaming Google, that you can game the entity verification, right? The verification process can be gamed. We do that through our GMB verification in MGYB.co. It's one of the services that we offer, where we help you get your verified entity in Google. But again, that's just one way, one of many ways where you can do this, verifying the entity. It's very important. All right. Again, pay Google, or you get yourself a verified GMB to work from. Verified is mostly for local, although it can be used regionally. In some cases, you have to really be careful with the terms of service and how they specify in your niche how that verified GMB can be used. But then once you do those two things, which is create, right? It's just starting the project and verifying the project. Now we're talking about Google because Google is the biggest player in the game. We know that the most money that you can make is usually in Google. There are other places where you can make money, but right now the beast, the one that we want to take down, the 800-pound gorilla, is Google. Next step in this is validating the entity. And why is validation so important? Well, I was just telling Bradley and Adam that I've been helping someone actually validate their entity because, and you know him, Bradley, you know, let me make sure, okay, we're in incognito and nothing's open. You know him. Excuse me. If you guys go and search the term tag team,
Oh yeah.
right? There's two things that can relate to tag team now. Watch this. It's either going to be wrestling tag team, or look at how the knowledge panel is now defining tag team as it can be the hip hop duo, right? Tag team from whom? There it is. He was in Syndication Academy, one of our mastermind members for a while. He's been out busy on tour with a tag team reunion, and I forget Hammer's house. I forget what it's called, but they got a bunch of the rappers, old school rappers from the 90s. I think it is Bismarcky, Hammer, Coolio, and a whole bunch of other people who go from town to town doing these old school shows. But anyway, look at this. This actually isn't bad. This type of ambiguity, this is called ambiguation, meaning that the bot doesn't know which tag team it is that you're searching for when you search for the tag team. But what we have managed to do is, look, put it into where Google now makes it an option. Tag team whom, because people now sometimes search for tag team whom. There it is. And see, if you extend it, then it's all about this tag team. There is no ambiguity when you begin searching for this term on which tag team it is that you're talking about. But at the broader tag team, of course, there's ambiguity because we don't know if it's wrestling, we don't know if it's a group. Now, if you were to do this, if you were to create ambiguity between two of your properties, now you're fighting yourself because Google doesn't know which one it is that you're talking about. Which are you this entity or are you another entity? And you're going to have to do double the work than that you should have done originally to clean this up. This was intentional because before it wasn't appearing. It was just the big knowledge panel, right, for tag team wrestling. And he did. If you guys go and look, search tag team, you'll see that it appears. And then you go and look at the hip hop duo. You've seen, look, they're in Wikipedia. They're also, their website, right, is coming up. And then all of the, you'll be able to look through it and see all of the things that this is DC Glenn, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Cecil, he calls himself DC. That's his professional name, DC Glenn from Tag Team. And so he has done all of this entity work, all of this validation for the bot to know that Tag Team is also a hip hop group, and so that it comes up again when you do the search for Tag Team, it comes up, and now he's part of the Tag Team entity. Right, so now that it's ambiguous because there's two terms that are related to this, and if he does enough of this, if enough of you go actually and go look and you go tag team whom or tag team whom, there it is, or tag team Cecil Glenn, or the other one, his partner is Steve Rowland. If you were to do tag team, for example, Steve Rowland, right, and there's no I, you'll see that it's Steve Gibson. And it relates back to the music group Tag Team and then Tag Team. So you can see all of the work that's been done to get this to validate as part of the thing that's a tag team on the web. And I hope that was a clear explanation. The thing here is Tag Team. And now Tag Team is the semantic relationship is to wrestling and to the hip hop duo from the 90s. Now, this is a lot of work because he was having a lot of problems getting validated in this manner. And it was just a few things, getting into Wikidata, getting the Wikipedia page right. And then, of course, his syndication network, which we'll talk about in a minute, he has all that. He has implemented RYS Academy methods, a whole bunch of the methods that we teach, of course, because he was in our mastermind. All right, so validation. If you do your validation right, and you start out, now here is important when you create the entity that you start thinking long term. A lot of people who went the EMD route now realize that ranking for something that's very specific is not really a good thing because you're pigeonholed into that one thing. Whereas if you brand and you create a relationship with a whole lot of different terms, you can rank for or get displays or whatever it is that you're looking for a whole lot more terms. And this is when you do your creation, and we tell you, to make sure that your entity is right, that you go and claim your footprint with Google, that you set up your schema correctly, that you set up all of the things that you need to set up, siloing on the website. You go and get that Drive Stack plus G site. It's full of keywords in your niche, whatever you want to relate your brand to, right? This is all part of your entity validation, which then goes into your entity solidification. What does that mean? You solidify the entity, you make it stronger. How do you make it stronger? One of the ways is Syndication Academy. Syndication Academy allows you to amplify your brand and to create in all of these social media a presence that's updated, that's related to your niche, that's linked together through schema. Of course, the same as, guys, listen. All right, we can go to YouTube right now, or you guys can do it on your own. I'm not going to do that right now. But if you look for at the brands, right? Sony, look at Sony, look at Coca-Cola, look at how they do their YouTube channel. You'll see that they link to their other profiles on the web through their YouTube channel. Now, if this did not work, why do these brands bother linking to all of their other profiles? Not only through YouTube, but you'll see on their website. Follow us on social media. Look for us on social media. Read about us on social media. You'll see all kinds of messages telling you, go to social media and find us there. That relationship is created. So let's say that you tomorrow you were to come out with an entity, a brand, a thing on the web that was called I don't know, Coca Loca. Right? It's not Coca-Cola. It's now Coca Loca. But you want Google to know what this is. You want it to know that it's a carbonated beverage that is made from the cola nut. It's a soft drink. It's all of these things that are going to create this keyword relationship with the entity, so that eventually what you want people to do when they think of Coca Loca is the same thing that you think about when you think about Coke or Coca-Cola. You don't go and look for Coca-Cola on the web as a carbonated beverage. You don't go look for Amazon as an online store. You don't go look for Facebook as a social media website. You don't go look for all of these brands. Google. What the fuck is a Google, man? Think about this. They did such a good job of branding that they became a verb. We now Google things to mean that we search on the web. I've done it, sometimes in Yahoo. I'm Googling stuff and I'm in Yahoo looking at things. But in my mind, I'm Googling because we're searching. They did such a good job. And this is how you have to think of this now. Your branding has to be so good that you want to become the name, right, for the term. They've done such a good job, tag team, that they are now related to that keyword. That's branding. That's branding, guys. And that's why this is so important, so that we get to the end game. And this is the part where most people fail, is getting here. And again, I'm going to mention Bradley's training for YouTube ads. It's fantastic. It's an excellent way to relate keywords in your niche to your brand. And this is where the art of art comes in. And what does art mean? Most of you know, and most of you who know me, that I talk about activity, relevance, trust, and authority. Relevance meaning that everything that touches your website, where you link to it or from it, there should be some type of relationship. If you're selling women's shoes and you talk about mountain climbing gear, there has to be a relationship there. It better be that you're talking about women's mountain climbing footwear. Because if you don't, and you start creating ambiguity, and the bot doesn't know what the hell you're talking about, you're going to lose the end game, because you're not going to have the solid entity that you need, so that the bot doesn't have to guess what your entity is about. If the bot has to guess, if it has to go in there and look at everything on your website, not only are you opening yourself up to ambiguity, you're opening yourself up to penalties if you're working from a TLD. I've stopped working from TLDs altogether. I work in G sites. I work inside GMB. I don't even touch the main websites anymore, the top level domains, because there's so many penalties, or so much bad stuff can happen on a TLD. Whereas if you concentrate on all of these places where you get extra protection because you're in a strong entity, you're halfway there. I mean, you don't have to worry about all these things. And it's one of the things that we teach in RYS Academy. You don't have to be scared of Google when you're protected by Google, because Google literally loves itself. It loves its own brand. It loves to promote itself above anything else. We've proven this time and again. And the art of art means, okay, so relevance, trust, and authority. What does that mean? You have to get links from trusted sources, and you have to link to trusted sources. But in order for that trust and authority to flow properly, you have to get do follow links. Now, we know for a fact that the big brands, the big sites, the ones that carry the most power on the web, are not generally going to give you a do follow link. Fortunately, we figured out a way how to get a link without getting a link, which is what RYS Academy is all about. I'm not going to get into that right now. But the third part of this is the activity. But what do I mean by activity? Well, Google has to measure what's happening both on your website and on other websites related to your website and linking to and from your website. And the way that they do that is through links. Don't let anybody tell you different. It's all about links. It has been all about links. It will be all about links until Google changes its base algorithm. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. What's the difference now? Well, the difference is that activity is measured through those links, so that anything that's happening on the link destination or on the link origin, it's read by Google to see, well, this person came through Facebook, they landed on the website, and they clicked back. That's a no-no. You don't want clickbacks. Let's say another person comes in and they come on the website and they stay for an hour, but they did nothing. That's also, it's not a good signal unless the person is scrolling through your page, and that activity can be measured. What you want that person doing is coming in and taking some kind of action, because what Google wants to see is a person finishing that activity which began wherever. It can be just direct, right? Direct activity can be measured. A person just coming into your website and going to your blog and reading your blog, watching videos, whatever it is that you want to have them do, filling out that contact form, clicking on that click to call number, whatever it is that you've set. And please set this in analytics, set this in Tag Manager, wherever you can, so that Google can receive a signal that whatever task it is that you have set for whatever visitor it is that's coming to your website, that it's complete, that they've completed that cycle, which is what Google is looking for. And that's what gets you to the end game. So let me just go and do this again real quick. What are we looking to do? We're looking to create, verify, validate, solidify, and we do all this so that we get to the end game. And the end game is getting traffic, but getting traffic that converts. If you're just getting traffic on your website, and your website is not intended for just traffic, let's say well, I don't know what, for traffic that converts, right? Whatever it is that you intend for people to do, whether it's just watch a video or whatever it is, it has to be done. If you're running ads, right, you're gonna get paid for visits, but you're gonna get paid much more for someone clicking on the ad and filling out the form or calling or whatever it is that the ad is wanting that person to do. So I know I ran through this rather quickly. If you guys have questions, I'll be glad to answer. But this is what the entity game is all about now, and how you get to the end game is you get traffic, you get real traffic, because real traffic behaves differently than bot traffic. Bot traffic cannot convert because it's a bot. Or maybe it can. Maybe you're coding it well enough so that it'll fill out your contact form. But Google can tell the difference between bot traffic and real traffic, and a person who is actually taking the time to call or to interact with your website, because interactions are different. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Rodney.
Well, thanks, Marco. And so how does this relate back to syndication networks, as he mentioned? And we'll talk, we'll banter back and forth about this. But, syndication networks are one of the ways to validate and solidify the entity. And why I titled the video part of this, why syndication networks are more important now than ever, is because the entity validation and solidification is more important now than it ever has been. Years ago, when I first started and there's a comment in the comment app near the top that somebody says, I don't think syndication networks work anymore for SEO. Okay, well, I don't know why you're here then. Go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're here to be convinced, because honestly, they do still work very much so. And I'll tell you a prime example of that here in a moment. But they have changed, right? The way that they work has changed since their inception, right? So when I first developed that, which again, I learned how to do that from a simple PDF guide that was actually teaching how to build automatic backlinks to videos. And I kind of developed it out into what Syndication Academy is. And I've been using that as a foundational method since 2000. I'm going to lock it on me because it keeps jumping back and forth. I've been using it as a foundational method since, I don't know, 2011-ish, maybe 12. And how it's effective has changed. It's evolved. It used to be about syndicating content and creating backlinks, right? That was really the thing. At the time, when I first started doing it, it was just about the backlinks. Or if it was videos, there was embeds too, for some on the blog sites, like Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress, that kind of thing. But it was a combination of embeds and backlinks and social signals. Over time, it really evolved into being a content amplification tool. We all know that that's kind of important. Like, just having good content was never enough. The backlinks and social signals were good too, but it was also about getting your content out on other platforms. And then the interlinking, which was kind of different from what the original, SEO methods were about, always hiding your footprint. And when we started sharing the syndication network method, then we were actually telling people to go out and claim your footprint. Don't hide it, claim it. Interlink all these properties with the same brand instead of, and there was still that school of thought of going out and creating a whole bunch of Web 2.0 profiles with different names, different profile names, and then using them to link back to the site. And that was more traditional link building stuff. But we're talking about syndicating content. So it's the same content out to a network of sites that were all branded and interlinked. So we weren't hiding our footprint. We were literally just broadcasting our footprint. And that started to work. And the reason it started to work was because it's what the big brands are doing, right? It's syndicating content out to all your branded profiles, which is what is expected now, right? And by doing so, it was kind of like also telling Google, like, hey, we have a presence on all these other areas. So we must be a valid, a valid business or a valid entity, in this case, a website, whatever the case may be, a brand, period. Well, then, here comes the semantic web, which we are pretty far into at this point. Well, although the actual backlinking, the automatic backlinks that it creates probably isn't near as effective as it used to be, but it is still the fact that we have all these branded profiles out there that are interlinked, that are all linking back to our entity, that are the more properties that you can get branded on, the better, right? And so that's why Syndication Academy, yeah, there's still only about 20 or 20, roughly 20 properties or so that we actually syndicate content to. But we always talk about in our update webinars going out and adding additional properties. Even if you can't syndicate to them, it's about securing additional properties just to have a presence on those locations. And if it gives you the ability to interlink to other profiles, other properties, you want to use them for interlinking. So, that's very important. So again, how it's effective has changed. I don't think the backlinks and social signals are nearly as important now as it is just having a presence and interlinking all of those together to essentially solidify the entity. Now, I want to talk about briefly, I've started a new project. I can't talk about what the project is yet. I'm going to be talking about it in the coming weeks in the mastermind to begin with. May even share it outside of the mastermind. We'll see. But I started a new project. It's pretty important to me. And I set up a new brand, and it set up a ClickFunnels page. It's not even a full website. It's just a ClickFunnels page. And I named my company. I named a company for it. So it's got its own brand name, similar name to other companies out there, though. And that was unintentional. It wasn't until after I had already registered that name that I realized that it was similar name to several other companies out there on the web. But it was available and I registered it anyway. So I created a ClickFunnels page. There's pretty good content on the page. So it's not just a landing page. It's got some FAQs and stuff like that on it. And and then I indexed it in Google because I've added the ClickFunnels page to my Search Console. I set up a G Suite account, which helps to validate the entity. So it's an entire new business for me. So I set all this stuff up, but yet the page was indexed, but for a brand search of that name, that specific name, it was showing up on like page 3, page 4, somewhere in there. And it was bouncing back and forth. And for about 3 weeks, I hadn't done anything to it. No backlinks, no press release, nothing. But it was just stuck on between page 3 and page 4. It would bounce. And then I hired one of our network builders from MGYB. He actually reached out to me via email and asked if he could have some additional work because he was trying to make some extra money to buy another computer. He's from the Philippines. Anyways, he reached out to me and asked if I had any side work for him. And I said, you know what? I started a new business, a new project. I need a syndication network for that. Here, I'll pay you outside of your normal job duties to do this for me. So I gave him the project, and it took him 2 days and working part-time on it. He sent me back. This was on a Thursday. He sent me back the message with the sheet, the Google sheet with the syndication network properties on it and all that. And on Monday, I went to go check for that brand name search again. And guys, I haven't syndicated any content or anything. And at number 1 for that brand name search. Now, granted, it's a brand name search, but it went from page 3, page 4, bouncing for 3 weeks with absolutely no work done, no content syndicated, no backlinks, no press release, no nothing, with just a syndication network, which was interlinked back to that landing page. It's just a single page website, ClickFunnels page. And it put it to number 1 among similarly other named businesses. So that was just proof. I mean, I didn't really need to see that kind of proof, but it was good to see that to validate what we've been saying in such a stark fashion. In other words, to see it jump 30, 35 spots into number 1 in Google with 0 additional work other than just having a syndication network built in a matter of 3 days, it jumped to number 1 position for that. I thought that was pretty significant. And so that's actually part of the reason that I reached out to Marco to say, we need to do an update webinar about this because we've had people giving their comments about how they don't think it works anymore. Well, if you don't think it works, don't use it then. Don't buy it from us. Don't buy Syndication Network. Go off and do other shit then is what I'm saying. I'm telling you, it's a very, very effective method still, even if how it's effective has changed. It's still very effective, and I think it's critical. It's still a foundational method for everything that we do. It's the first thing that I do for all new properties. We talk about it in the battle plan. It's the truth that every one of us do the same thing. We start new projects, or client projects, anything. It's the first thing we do is a syndication network. Marco, do you have anything to add to that before we get to questions?
Yeah. Just a quick thought. I can say that day is night and night is day, and because that's what I think. I can think whatever the fuck I want, right? It's my mind. I could be absolutely wrong also and think I'm right. Now, the thing is, when people just make those comments out of the blue, and fuck you. We don't give a fuck what you think. Go and prove the shit doesn't work. Then come back to us, man. don't just talk shit. Because talking shit is for shit talkers, right? From the Department of Redundancy department, talking shit is for shit talkers. We go, we test, and then we come back and we show you. If this were not working any longer, I'd be the first one out here telling you this shit doesn't work anymore. Don't use it. But it's an absolute foundational element in everything that I do for a client. It's setting up that syndication network, getting that drive stack and that G site, getting those first 5-6 press releases ready, getting that link building ready, and then now of course ads, because you're getting real people. Google is trusting you with a visitor, right? With one of their people to come to your whatever, whether it's your video or maybe you're sending them to a video on your website, however it is that you have it set up, and that person is going to interact with your website eventually, or with the offer that you're giving them, and Google's going to get all of that data back. And when they get that good data where that person went and finished whatever task they were set to do, how do you think Google is going to react to that? It's rhetorical, because I know what Google's going to do with that. It's just going to reward you with more and more and more and more. And the more people that take action, the more rewards that you get from Google. Why? Because Google wants to keep people within the Google ecosystem. They don't want people to leave. That's how they make money, guys. As long as you can make Google money in some kind of fucking way, they're happy.
I agree. So we'll get into questions now. The first valid question, besides, like I said, some shitty comments already. That's one of the things I don't like about this new chat app, is it's most people are commenting anonymously, so that's when you start getting trolls. But anyways, Outgoing Being says, when creating a G site, if you use the name of the money site with site.google.money site, is that a bad thing? No, not if it's part of your branded entities. There's nothing wrong with that at all. What I recommend with that, though, is, just don't do anything incredible. Well, it's a Google site. So what I'm saying is I would make that site look good, right? You can still do some pretty spammy stuff with it, but I would make it look good. So, for example, the sites that we build for RYS through MGYB, the drive stacks, they end up looking really good. I mean, you could still go in and customize them even more, but they still look pretty damn good. Justin's really good at building the new sites. So, I mean, to make them look good. But yeah, there's no reason you can't do that. Remember, you're not trying to hide your footprint when it comes to branded stuff. Okay? Any comments on that?
No, I totally agree. There's nothing wrong with you. Again, it's your footprint. It's your brand. You should have a site. You should go and claim it, and it's your brand. Now, what you do in a drive stack, it's hands off, right? I mean, all bets are off. You do whatever the hell you want in that drive stack, and then everything else that takes place.
Yeah. Okay, can you write a Wikipedia article about your company and submit it to Wikipedia? You can. I don't know that they're going to accept it. I know there are some services out there that you can buy them that have really good success with that. I haven't ever tested that or tried that. So I don't know. I don't know how successful they are or how much of an effect. I know, if you get a Wikipedia link, even though it's no follow, it's pretty damn powerful, because, I've been able to scrape Wikipedia links before that were expired domain, that were linking to an expired domain, and pick up those domains and build them out just so that I could link to something, and seen significant bump from those, even though they're no follow links. So I know that that's pretty powerful. I've never actually submitted an article to Wikipedia to have it done, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly worth a shot. I can only imagine it would help, but again, I've never done it. So I don't know, I don't know who you are, but trying to do it on your own, you might not have as much success as like hiring a service that actually does that knows the ins and outs, that can get it done for you with a high success rate. That's what I would recommend doing.
I pay people.
Yeah.
It's so much easier than trying to get an article approved and then going through that whole process where their own editors are going to come and edit your shit and add a whole bunch of crap to it that you may not want or need. So I'd rather just get someone that knows what the hell he's doing and has been doing it long enough where they can go and edit the edits.
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather that's something I wouldn't want to spend the time on. I would just hire that out. So, all right, the next one is excuse me, how long did it take DC he's talking about DC Glenn to get the results for the tag team to show up that way in Google? So I'm assuming he means in auto suggest as well as the knowledge panel.
Dude, we've been working at this, and I've been coaching him for about a year.
Wow. But
and
he's limited time on what he works on. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, but still, we had it was just a ton of work. He had to do a ton of work, and he did hire someone for a Wikipedia page and a Wikidata page, besides everything else that he did, because he just couldn't get his knowledge panel right. And then claiming, which is one of the things I didn't talk about, claiming that knowledge panel, which really helps to solidify the entity, claiming all of his different knowledge panels, because he gets different ones depending on the term. He gets one for him as DC Glenn, one for tag team, and as you saw, Steve Rowland gets one.
Yeah.
And so yeah, all of that has to be done, and he's still working on it. He's still working on his website. He still listens to us on Hump Day Hangouts from time to time.
Yeah, I know.
We talk all the time in Skype. He's a really good guy, man.
He's from DC area too. So, all right. Next is, does Bing Ads help to validate the brand? Well, it helps with art, right? That helps drive activity. I don't know that actually having an account on Bing Ads helps to validate the brand in Google's eyes, right? Because Google doesn't have access to Bing's data. But Google does if you're sending traffic from Bing Ads to your properties that Google's aware of because of analytics and Search Console and Chrome browsers and all the other shit, then yes, that absolutely will help. Okay.
And thank you for mentioning that, guys. Submit your shit to analytics and to Search Console. Don't be afraid of the big bad wolf.
Add Tag Manager. Add a remarketing tag.
There you go. Anything and everything you can. To just be transparent. Now, if you guys know me, I spam the shit out of anything. But at that level, try to keep it clean and pristine so that Google can follow people everywhere and watch them take the action that you're wanting them to take. But outside of my golden frame, Google's in trouble.
Yeah, so keep that in mind, guys. What we're saying is, that's part of the reason that we really love Drive Stacks, for example. Because you can do a drive stack that points to your money site. So the primary target URL becomes your money site from the drive stack, as well as your other branded profiles. Your other tier 1 branded profiles can all go into the drive stack. Then you can hammer your drive stack with all the nasty stuff you want to. That's like kitchen sink spam you could throw at it, and it's okay because it's a Google asset. That's my point. That's why, like he said, keep your money site, your golden frame clean. I agree with that. Don't do a lot of spammy stuff direct to your money site, or don't do anything spammy, really, if you can avoid it. And that's what you can set up, these buffer type layers that you can do all that stuff to. And what better type of property than like Google itself? Or, we've also been talking about Amazon stuff recently, using Amazon the Amazon domain as well, because that can take just about any type of abuse you throw at it. All right. Replay, yes, the replay will be right here on this page until the next one, and we will probably also create an archive section here on MGYB for the archive training videos. Okay, it will be available. There's no doubt. Love Marco, sweet. Okay, so are your syndication entities totally branded and no profiles, fake people? Well, yes and no. I mean, like for example, it depends on what kind of syndication networks you're buying, right? So if you're buying YouTube syndication networks, they're going to be, it can be a branded network, but we recommend only one branded network anyways, right? So you don't want to have multiple branded networks out there. That wouldn't make sense. You have one branded network that gets attached to your money site or your money channel if you're using YouTube, or both if you're using both, right? A money website and a money YouTube channel. You can have both attached to that branded network. Then if you want to do tiered syndication networks, which we only recommend for YouTube syndication, then they're absolutely going to be persona based, but that's because it's YouTube and it doesn't matter. There's no footprint issues with syndicating YouTube videos, right? Because you're acting as a publisher for Google at that point. So, but when you're dealing with blog syndication, if you're going to use tiered syndication networks, then yes, the second tier networks are going to be persona based networks. They can be pseudo brands, right? Kind of like fake brands or similarly related type brand type stuff, but you don't want to have just your tier 1 content or your blog content being syndicated to those tier 2 networks, because that's a footprint and that's an issue. That's why we always talk about, if you're going to use 2-tier networks, that you have you add additional related content feeds to your tier 2 trigger points, essentially IFTTT. And that's so that you can add related content from other publishers to those networks to kind of mask or hide the content that you're publishing among other related content, to add relevancy as well as reduce. You can't eliminate, but reduce footprint issues. Okay. That said, no, as far as when we create the user accounts for the networks, if you purchase one from us, yeah, it's going to have a persona based profile name that creates the branded profiles, so it'll be a John Doe essentially is the account owner, or Jane Smith or something, but the profiles themselves are going to be branded. Does that make sense? So the account owner might be a persona, but it's the profiles themselves are branded profiles after your brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but treat that persona as one of your employees, right? Well, you had you tasked one of your employees to go and create all of your branded profiles throughout the web. That's how you can look at that. And so you can always make yourself the owner of that Gmail, or to just do whatever you want with it.
Yep. Okay, so let's see. It looks like Jim Nguyen from our mastermind. He says, take the course. So thanks for that, Jim. He says, many times people, joyful person, hate these stupid names. Many times people say that something that doesn't work usually is an ideal opportunity to sell them. There's faith, and then seeing and is believing. Yeah, I know that. Honestly, I do know that, but I hate it when people come and make these stupid claims, and it irritates the shit out of me when somebody comes and says something stupid like that. I don't think they work. Well, go out and prove it first, dummy. You know what I mean? Honestly, that kind of stuff irritates me.
My point exactly. Point exactly. Yes, it's an opportunity, but when you come into a webinar, there's nothing there. You just say, I think it doesn't work. It's old. Is actually the second comment that this guy made. Then no, he's getting blasted. Fuck him. Or
and the other part of that is this is a free webinar. We're not charging for this. And we're not pitching you guys on any hard sell things. Yeah, if you want to, you can buy syndication networks from us. That's obviously that's part of the reason why we're doing these trainings now for MGYB. And you can also take the training for syndication networks. But honestly, it's free training. We wanted to help give you guys ideas of why they're still powerful, even if you don't know how to build them. We just gave you some information on how to go out and help validate and solidify an entity. So next is your shit isn't working because you're doing it wrong. I agree with that. If you go buy a Fiverr gig for a syndication network or a drive stack and then come back to us and say, well, I tried that, it doesn't work, it's because it's not done right, guys. That's why. So those of you that try to go out and again, try to save a few bucks and go to and buy, for example, we've had a lot of people come to us that say, oh, well, we tried drive stacks, it doesn't work. Well, okay, did you build it based on the training that we provided? No, I'm not in your training. Oh, did you buy it from us? No, I bought it from Fiverr gig. Okay, well, there's your problem right there. It's not the same, guys. It's different. So anyways, really love you guys and your helpful info. Thank you. Can we use ROIS to rank a WordPress website? You most certainly can, both self-hosted as well as WordPress.com. In fact, I haven't looked at this in a while, so hopefully this doesn't make a liar out of me. But we're going to just check on something and see if we search for, I don't know, SEO Virginia. Boom. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. So if we search SEO Virginia, the sites.google.com is a Google site from a drive stack. Look at number 3. It's a bradleybenner.wordpress.com. And if you actually take a look at this, guys, no backlinks has ever been built to this page.
Wait. Don't go through that fast, man. Go back. Go back, please.
I'm back.
Look at that knowledge panel.
Well, that's also in part because my local IP. But
but you're not logged in.
No, but it's still detecting my IP because I know if I do search this from IP in Indiana or something, it won't typically show a knowledge panel, but it'll still be ranked. So, but interesting, guys. This is the Google site from the drive stack. Take a look at the date here on this WordPress.com site. May 16th, 2015, guys. Do you realize that was almost 4 years ago now? We're literally 3 weeks away from that being 4 years old. And that was from when that was on a Saturday. Go back and look at the dates, guys. That was from a Saturday in May of 2015 that Marco revealed to me what the RYS method was. I was in the middle of a client project that I had to be done by Monday. And Marco revealed this to me, the RYS method. And I literally stopped everything I was doing and spent 5 hours building my first drive stack, which was horrid. It was awful. It was nothing like what we build today. In fact, this was the site. So I took a piece of an article, put it through a spinner, literally output the spin text. I never even updated it, like went through it manually.
It was an article farm article, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it was terrible. And then, by the way, this was a Google Plus embedded Google Plus post, which Google Plus is dead now, and I've never gone back in to edit this site. That's why there's a broken iframe here. But all I did, guys, was go build out the drive stack files according to the little bit of training that Marco gave me. And then I published this page, and then, I did all this, built all these files out and everything. And then I went in on my top level, my own Bradley Benner branded profiles. I went out and basically mimicked the drive stack by embedding the iframes on the Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress. And guys, there had been some links built to the Google site originally, but I haven't touched this thing in years, and I never built any links to this. And guys, look at this. For SEO Virginia and SEO Agency Virginia, Virginia SEO, multiple keywords, this thing's been ranked for years, guys.
Look at the video carousel. Scroll down.
Yeah. Well, these two are me. But what's crazy about it is if you take a look at this page, guys, honestly, everything that's an image. These are all embedded iframes, and there's not even a single piece of text on this page other than this right there. That is the only text on this page in the post body of this page. It's the only text. So it's got the title, and it's got that text. And if you look at the page source, the rest of this, guys, is just iframes. And yet here I am outranking all the other SEO companies in the state of Virginia for the keyword SEO Virginia and many variations thereof. And it's just from this drive stack and from syndication network properties. Think about that. That's crazy powerful. And I mean, we're talking about 4 years down the road, and it's still ranking like this.
Yeah, and those are in no way interlinked like we do now. They don't have the keyword research like we have now. They don't have all of the other things that we add to drive stacks now, which make them that much more powerful. So that when you link build into them, they blow up, man.
There is still
it's ridiculous.
There is still the interlinking because this. Remember, these were syndication network properties for my own branded syndication network for Bradley Benner. So these are interlinked, and there's some stuff in here that probably needs to be cut out. Like I said, I haven't edited any of this shit, guys, in years, but it's still ranking today. That's why I love that, because this is a perfect example of what the power of these things can do. And what's crazy about it is, like I said, I originally, when I first built this out, I sent a few really spammy PBN links to it from a PBN that I would never use for money sites or anything. I was actually using them just for video, embedding videos and building backlinks to videos and stuff, because they were old based PBNs that I had built that were basically toxic at that point. But I had done a few backlinks to it from that because I knew it was a Google site. It probably wouldn't make a difference. And that was it. Ever since then, I've never done anything to it. And it's just been ranking for years now. So absolutely, you can do that. To wank a WordPress website. Great creation is Wayne. Okay, what's up, Wayne? Let's see. Calm says, I have a branded Google stack for an e-commerce site. I haven't messed with it much lately, but is it a good idea to mirror the category and product pages from the e-commerce site? If so, should it be unique content? It doesn't have to be unique content. And yes, it's a great idea to mirror it. That's super, super effective. Okay. And you don't need unique content, guys. You can take the content from your existing pages and paste it into your drive files. There you go.
Yeah, he must have been reading my mind while I was writing the newsletter today. Because that's exactly what I wrote about, mirroring.
Yeah, that's funny. Jordan says, Wayne, we already know that from the fact that you're posting GIFs. That's awesome. All right. Will there be an issue if you have a syndication network for a YouTube channel and then also have a syndication network for a branded website blog? page, and most of the posts also embed the YouTube videos. The post would be done at a later time with full text and not part of. No. That's not a problem at all. That's great that the way that you said that is absolutely how we recommend doing it. If you have a branded network that you're syndicating from or to from both your YouTube channel as well as your blog, it's perfectly. It's great that you're doing it the way that you're doing. Where I see people make mistakes is they create a video, upload it or live stream it to their channel, which then syndicates out across the network with, and usually it's a, exact match keyword for the video title. That's how we get them to rank, right? But then they go and take that video and create a post on their website, their blog, that is essentially just the embedded video with the same basic title, and they syndicate that to their network. And then what it looks like is duplicate posts on the syndication network properties. And that can actually get your syndication network properties, the Web 2.0 accounts, especially the blogs, can get those terminated. And that's what sucks about that. But if you're taking the video and syndicating it to your network from your YouTube channel, and then you're later on, or even in the same day, it doesn't matter, going and creating a relevant post, like a good post with full text, a slightly different title, or more like a blog title instead of just an exact match keyword. Obviously blog titles typically are written a lot better than a YouTube title would be. That kind of stuff where you have, additional text and information, and then publish that post, which gets syndicated to your branded network. That's not a problem at all. That's actually the best way to do it. So that way you're getting two double bang for the video essentially across, and you're getting two posts to your network, which will both be good and valid looking posts. Okay. So that's absolutely the way you should do it.
And by the way, it's still good practice to embed a video in your blog post.
Yes.
2019, it still works like crazy, guys. Make it part of how you do your blog post, how you do your pages. Just have a relevant YouTube video embedded in there. Still works.
Also, if you guys, you should all, anybody who watches us should already have YouTube Silo Academy. If you don't, go buy it. It's $7. And you'll see my fat face on it because I created that course many years ago when I was a hell of a lot heavier. But my point is, go get YouTube Silo Academy and learn how to silo your YouTube channels if you're doing that, because use playlists, you create silos from playlists, and then you can embed the playlists into your posts when you're doing what you're talking about, right? And you embed the playlist with the video that you want for that post as the video that's showing in the playlist. But what you're doing there is, because remember, if you're publishing posts to your blog, you probably got your blog siloed anyways. You should, right? And so now that's mirroring the same thing that the question previously about mirroring a G site or a drive stack to the category structure of a website. Absolutely, it's called theme mirroring. You can do the same thing with your YouTube channel, right? So you're going to mirror the silo structure from your website onto your YouTube channel, and then do the same thing within your G site and the same thing within your drive stack. It's all about the mirroring, guys. That's how you create massive relevancy, right? So again, that's, learn it. Go through YouTube Silo Academy. You learn how to embed, how to create the silos, playlists, and also how to embed the playlist to where the video that you want as the primary, the video that's showing in the embed, but it's still a full playlist, because now you're basically pushing relevancy through that entire silo. It creates buoyancy. That's what Network Empire used to call it, was buoyancy. Okay. What about adding a second G site named a top level keyword? Should you validate it as an asset in Google Console for the money site? I wouldn't do that. Not with it. You can still create, and I don't, there's no reason not to create additional G sites. And you can keyword optimize those. That's perfectly fine, but I wouldn't do it within the same account and put it, I wouldn't add it to the same Search Console account. I would keep that separate and apart. That's just what I would do. Marco, do you have any different comments on that?
No, I totally agree. Put it in a separate account and track it that way.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. Okay, let's see. I have been watching your videos, and Bradley has mentioned the ad ID schema. Can you talk about what this is and how to use it? Or is that something you only talk about in your paid options? Yeah, we could talk about it conceptually here. If you want the nuts and bolts, obviously you're going to have to get it from one of our paid programs. Mastermind is your best option. That's where you're going to get the most training, and pretty much we're wide open there with everything. Otherwise, Syndication Academy, we like where I introduced that ad ID page concept was in the February 2018 Syndication Network update webinar. And it's really, I mean, it's evolved in that we add a lot more powerful stuff to it now, but that's the foundation that we still use today. It's very, very powerful. And that's because it's an Amazon domain and you can get crazy with your embeds over there. So on a conceptual level, something that you can do is just create an HTML page, a static HTML page that you're going to upload to an S3 bucket, which can become an S3 bucket hosted HTML page. And on there, we just talked about your having a presence on many social media, Web 2.0 type properties is important because you're claiming your footprint. So on a very basic level, for example, we talk about in Syndication Academy, we used to have one of our primary social hubs or semantic hubs, as we called them, was Google Plus, because Google Plus, you could go in and add in your profile or your branded profile, you could add links like where, like all your different, Marco was just talking about at the beginning of this webinar, YouTube, same thing. You go to your about page and you can add, links that show up at the top in the channel art area, but then you can also add up to, I think, 10 additional, a total of 10 links in the about section that when somebody clicks on the about page, they can see those additional profiles. That's called a semantic hub. We've called that. Another one would be like Gravatar, right? Where you can add a bunch of different URLs that are interlinking all of your properties. Well, you can do the same thing with an Amazon S3 page, right? And since Google Plus is now shut down, that's what we recommended as the substitute, is to create you can call it an ad ID page. Ad ID is very specific to local businesses. It's a schema type for local businesses, but you can still use that concept, whether it's a local business or not, for entity validation and solidification, because you can create an HTML page and just list all of your, I would still recommend adding structured data to that page, by the way, in the HTML header, whether it's an organization, a website markup, or local business markup, you still want to add structured data to that page. But then you can add just a list, literally just put a list of your social profiles and Web 2.0, anywhere you have a presence. You could create a bullet list on that HTML page and just have the names of your profiles plus your brand name, or just the brand name and an image of that social media site, little icons, and then just link those directly to, because those are all do follow links. And now that becomes something that you can use as a link target for link building and other spammy stuff because it's on an Amazon domain. Does that make sense? So it becomes a semantic hub that you can use as a target for additional SEO stuff. Okay. If you want to learn how to get a lot of power out of it, like I said, come join the mastermind or RYS Academy, one or the other. All right, cool how this keeps ranking. Yeah, I think he's talking about the SEO Virginia stuff. We use high-profile CEO persona on the branded done-for-you network you guys builds for us to raise the EAT, which is authority, trust. What is E? I can't remember what that is. There's so many acronyms for the same thing. It's the same thing as what Marco's calling art. This strategy works for us better than a John Doe for sure. Yeah, I'm sure. There's no problem with that too. Like I said, if you buy it from us, we're going to obviously use some sort of profile name, like just a random profile name. But if you can use the CEO persona, like for example, the business owner, again, if you take a look at the Bradley Benner stuff here, Bradley Benner is a brand really now, guys. It took time, obviously, for that to happen, but it's a brand. So if you can, like Marco said, use personas or real people that are part, like, executives or on the whatever, business owners, that type of stuff, it does have a more positive effect, right? Because there's some inherent authority built into it at that point. Okay. What is there to do about formatting issues with embeds going out to WordPress, etc.? They don't seem to actually embed, but display the Java code. It's been indicating out of the post with a link to the video, then changing the link to an embed in the money site post, but wish the embeds would just be embeds on WordPress, Tumblr, etc. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. As far as I know, I haven't seen any issues at all with syndicating videos. Is that what you're talking about? To a syndication network? You might want to check your IFTTT applets and see if there's an issue with that. I haven't heard of anything being an issue, but if there is, I can look into it and figure it out. But typically, if there's a problem with, sometimes stuff changes, guys, on different platforms. In fact, IFTTT has changed over the years, where you would have the embed code as the part of the ingredients when you create the applet. They used to be called recipes, but you would use the embed code, and then for a period of time, the embed code would if you had selected the embed code as part of the post body, it would just display code and it wasn't the actual iframe. So then you had to switch to using the URL, but then it switched back to the embed code. So things do change from time to time, and it's something you just got to be on the lookout for. But if you're having problems with the syndication network that we built, contact us at support. If we didn't, or if it's something that you built and you're in Syndication Academy, the Facebook group, post about it. We'll take a look at it. We'll talk about it. Okay. All right, we're over, guys, and I got to run, but I'm going to say last thing. So for new projects, you wouldn't even put up a website, use G sites. No, I'm not saying that at all. It depends on what you want to do. Like, for a lot of local stuff that we've been doing, like lead generation assets, I've stayed strictly in Google My Business assets with Google, like G sites and Drive Stacks and such. Those are all Google properties. But, if you're starting a new project, guys, go secure a domain name, right? Like if you're starting your own project, for example, create a brand, go secure that branded domain name. If you're doing client work, it's likely that they're going to want a website anyways. And yeah, have them buy a branded domain name, or you handle it for them. I'm not saying don't create websites. I'm just saying, we use the website as the golden frame, like that's the primary target. But most all the SEO work besides on-page stuff is done to the tier 1 assets now. And that's through mostly Google properties. And that's because we can get away with just about anything on those properties while keeping the money site absolutely clean. And that's the important thing, right? We don't have to worry about slaps to the money site if all we're doing is good on-page, publishing good content, and then all the other SEO stuff that we do that could be deemed, it could be, some could be determined it's dirty, it's nasty, like, bad SEO stuff, or it could be that it's clean now, but it could be determined bad 2 days from now or 2 months from now, or whatever the case may be. But if it's all done to the tier 1 assets, preferably high authority properties like Google itself or Amazon, things like that, then it's never going to actually end up affecting us negatively at the money site level.
Yeah, what I meant by that is I don't touch the client site. If they have one, well, good for them, because everything is going to take place off-site. I can deliver enough power to the website through other means so that I don't have to go in there and mess with it. If they insist on a website or a rebuild or whatever, I'm going to charge them a whole lot of money so that they cry about it and they have to think about it. And then if they pay it, I'm just going to hire somebody to do it for me, and they're going to do it the way I want it. And so I don't have to mess with it. I hate that.
Let's be clear, though. If somebody's site has really shitty on-page, it's going to be hard to get results, even with a lot of the off-page stuff. So I do always recommend that the on-page is proper. So if I'm going to be working on a client project, even if I'm not tasked or haven't accepted the responsibility of working on their primary website, I'm still going to provide consultation services to their webmaster as to what needs to be corrected in order to make sure that the off-page work I'm doing is going to have the greatest effect. So that's just my opinion on that. For example, in our mastermind, I'm not going to reveal any names, but we have a guy in there that was posting about why his site, which has got a massive amount of content, there's a lot of content on the site. The site looks good. It's put a lot of time and effort in it, but he started slipping in the rankings, and competitors that he was asking, like, I don't understand why my site's got so much more content and blah, blah, blah. And I went and looked at it, and immediately I saw that his structure was poor. And again, it was, you can't know what you don't know, but he had no silo structure whatsoever. His site was flat, and it was way too much interlinking or internal linking with no clear direction for the Googlebot. And I immediately saw that the site structure was flawed. And so I gave him a 10-minute video that I basically just said, look, there's some things that stand out at me right off the bat that need to be corrected. And so those are the kind of things that, like I said, if you have the on-page right, then any off-page work you do will have a better effect, a more positive effect, right? You can get more of a boost in rankings, better SEO results with a fraction of the off-page as long as the on-page is done correctly, right? You can still brute force stuff, guys, but my point is, if you can get your on-page right, and then to where it only requires a little bit of the off-page or a lot less than it would otherwise, why not do that? Okay.
Because brute force is so much fun.
Cool, Jordan. Thank you. He says we just put the CEO name in the notes field of the order and on MGYB and the builders do it. Super easy. Well, that's cool. I didn't even know that. So I just learned something. So, all right, guys, I'm wrapping it up. Thanks for everybody being here. We're going to be back next month with another one where we're probably actually going to get into drive stacks specifically. I think that's what Marco and I agreed to yesterday. Is that right, Marco?
Yep.
So next month, we'll have a drive stack webinar. We'll talk about that much more in depth. So we'll see you all then. Thanks, Marco.
All right, man. Bye, everyone.